Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here live for Joyrider TV, back with some very, very interesting Q&A where I'm going to be answering all your most pressing catamaran sailing questions. Oh, yes. But before I jump in, just a little bit of news. There won't be a Q&A next week. Why is this? I hear you cry. It is because next week I'm going to be heading to Sweden. Yeah, that's right, Sweden, to participate in the Archipelago Raid. It's a long distance / endurance event for F18 catamarans. I'm going to be sailing on a C2 with, for those of you who've been here for a bit, with Declan, who won the Getaway speed challenge last year. And no, that wasn't the prize for winning that we do the Archipelago Raid together, but he's arranged it and I'm going, and it is going to be pretty cool. I've never done anything like that before, so that is going to be pretty amazing. At the Archipelago Raid, the general format, I believe, this is completely new to me, is each day of the event will be sailing between 50 and 100 nautical miles between the small islands of the Swedish archipelago, where there'll be, it might be in 1, 2, or 3 different legs where we sail from one place to another place, put the boat on the beach, have a little bit of a refreshment sort of stop, and then back on the boat, next leg, and then we continue. Yeah, so very exciting. And I think it says you need a torch because you might be rigging up in the dark. Yeah, really not knowing what to expect there, but what you can expect, the Joyrider TV global community, is that there will be regular updates throughout this event. So it's going to be slightly different to when I was away at the Tornado Worlds or in the USA earlier in the year, because it's such a lot of time on the water each day. So I can't actually film the whole of a race like in the other events. Instead, what I'll be doing is, when it's possible, just getting some footage, doing letting you know what's going on, and then before and after each leg, giving an update. And I've actually got somebody else who's going to be editing the videos for me, because I physically won't be able to do that while I'm out in the what would you call it, out in the field, without any facilities for that sort of caper. So that is why there won't be a Q&A next week. But anyway, on with today's Q&A. As usual, what I'm going to do is start off with the lead question that's come in, and then after that I'll check in with everybody who is checking in the live chat. Hope that sounds all right. Okay, so the question has come in from Jochen Hams, who is saying, could you please go through the procedures on how to get maximum speed out of an F18 style cat on a 2-sail reaching course? Now, this is the sort of thing that doing this long distance event is, there could be quite a lot of that. And I'm not going to lie to you, I have been training in 2-sail reaching on F18 style cats for probably the best part of the last 30 years. So I'm hoping there'll be plenty of that going on. Jochen says, where should the traveler go? How deep should I put the daggerboards down? And how to depower from this course? Okay, so if we start off with a little bit of setup, yeah, let's start off with daggerboards. So if can we use this? Yeah, let's use this. All right, so if this is our hull, I know it's not an F18 style Daggerboard hull, and this is the rudder blade. So, or actually it'll be a bit deeper. Let's say that goes down to about there. If it's a windy two sail reach, so if you've been double trapezing upwind, then on the two sail reach, what we want to do is have the Daggerboards down the same amount as how far the rudder blades come below the boat. That's the bit of the Daggerboard that's sticking up above the hull. So this takes a little bit of preparation, and once you've done it once, then it's done and you don't need to do it again. But what you need to do is put the boat on its side, and then take a line under the boat, like a straight line down the kind of mean, flattest bottom of the boat, and see how far the rudder blade extends beneath that. So let's say that is, what would that be? Let's say that's 1 meter. So then what we want to do is get it so that the Daggerboard extends the same amount from the bottom of the boat. And then with the Daggerboard in that position, the best thing to do is to actually take a measurement of how much Daggerboard is above the deck when you've got that 1 meter of Daggerboard below the hull, and then write that number down, because that means that you won't have to measure it again. That means it's done for that type of boat. And then the good idea to do is then to draw a line with a marker pen on the Daggerboard, so you know if you pull the Daggerboard up so that that line is showing, that is the optimal for high wind two sail reaching. And it's actually the good starting point for high wind downwind sailing as well. Yeah, so that is the first thing to look at, Daggerboard positions. If you are finding, let's just do the whole story of the Daggerboards first. If the wind is a little bit lighter, so perhaps it's been a bit marginal, then yeah, have the Daggerboard down probably another, maybe not all the way, but perhaps another 10 or 15 centimeters down, just so you get a little bit more lift off those bad boys. But what we're doing is we're getting the lift by going fast, so we don't need them as deep down as you would do when you're sailing upwind, as you would do when you're sailing upwind and you're not sailing as fast. So you don't need as much Daggerboard when you're going that fast. Now, if you are sailing fast, double trapeze, two sail reach, and you're finding that the boat is going very bows down, this could be that even though that is the same as that, you've got too much Daggerboard down, because as the boat is moving forwards, pressure is being applied here, and that pressure being applied here, if it's too much, like if you exaggerated it and put it down here, pressure being applied there is going to send the bow down very quickly. So if you are finding the boat a little bit nosedivey, then perhaps just bring up another 10 centimeters of Daggerboard, do 10 centimeters at a time, and do a little bit of experimentation to see how that feels. But the Daggerboards are very much going to affect how the boat is doing that. And if you've got them down too much, another negative, what would you call it, result of having them down too much is you'll get a load of turbulence, which will affect the rudders as well. So you really need to lift those bad boys up. Okay, so I think that is Daggerboards covered. I hope we're all happy with Daggerboards there. The next thing that we can do is the rig setup. So, yeah, we're done with him. All right, so firstly, let's look at mast rotation. What we want to do is we want to have the mast slightly more open than you would do, you know, in an if you're sailing long distance, then you, let's say it was windy, upwind, you might have had that. We've got a ruler, so let's have a bit of accuracy here. We might have had the mast pointing this way, sort of like at this corner where the back beam meets the hull. So that would be our upwind mast rotation position. But when we're reaching, what we want to do is have the best sort of shape on the back side of the, not just the mainsail, but if we call the mainsail and the mast, that whole main profile, which is actually going to mean, I'll do this in a different color, that we'll have the mast a little bit more open, because what that means is on the back side of the sail, where the mast joins the mainsail, it's going to be really smooth. Sorry, we're cheating in more than that. It's going to be really smooth. Whereas if you've got it, the mast closed more, let's call it. So if this is our mast and it's closed, it's going to be like, this is an exaggeration, but you've got this kind of almost double shape here. So the wind's going to come round the mast and we're going to get a bit of turbulence there, and then it's going to you're going to get a bit of better flow as we move further back. So a little bit less on the mast rotation. I would say a good point to go for would be the trailing edge of the Daggerboard case. Having the mast rotation open a little bit more makes it a lot easier to bend the mast by using the main sheet and flattening the sail that way, as well as with the downhaul. Because when we're sailing upwind and we've got the mast rotation in more, a lot of the flatness of our sail is coming from having a very tight main sheet that flattens off the whole rig. But when we're reaching, we're going to be playing the main sheet more for the gusts, which means when we sheet the main sheet out, we don't want loads of shape to suddenly go into the sail. So by having the mast round more, that is going to look after that for us. So a bit more mast rotation. Then the downhaul, we're going to keep the downhaul in the same position as it was when we were sailing upwind. Because if we were feeling the juice and we needed the downhaul on full on the upwind, then we're still going to need the downhaul on full on the beam reaching course. If you're feeling that the amount of power you've got is lacking at any time, then yeah, by all means, ease the downhaul off. It's going to put more shape into the sail, but don't ease it off very much, because if we ease it off too much, if this is our sail, very simplified, if we ease it off too much, the center of effort is going to move up and back, which is going to mean that shape, if we put too much downhaul off, we are going to be getting this feeling of being overpowered, because the center of effort is the fullest part is going to be too high up, and also it's going to be too far back. So it's really going to want to make the boat fly the hull and perhaps drive the bows down more as well. So we'll keep the downhaul on unless we're really desperate for that bit more power. Good so far? Yes, I think so. All right. So next part, crew positions. We're just going to respond. We're just upgrading our boat. We're just going to respond to keeping the boat fairly flat, but with a little bit of margin for the big gust. So if this is our whole side profile, the ideal is to have, you know, this totally flat in the water. That is the ideal. Sorry, it's can actually see better if I look on the telly. There we go. So this is gonna be the ideal trim of the boat, to have it so it's perfectly flat with the water. But sometimes if it's particularly gusty, very windy, what we're going to want to do is have our crew weight a little bit further back than optimal. The reason we'll do that is because if we've got it perfect, when we get a gust, there's going to be less time to respond to the bows going down. Now, if you're very confident in your response time, then yes, perfect is the way. But if you're perhaps less confident and you want to have a better chance of not sticking the nose in, it is better just to be a little bit further back than optimal. If it's really windy, then the helm wants to be right at the back, foot in the foot strap, perhaps front foot up against the corner of the back beam if you're happy with quite a narrow stance. And then the crew should be right next to the helm at the back of the boat there, just levering this bow up. All right, so we're set up. Next, the jib. Now, the thing is with the F18s is they're not particularly well set up for when the crew is back on the boat like this for playing the jib. So you just have to do what you can as the crew to be able to play the jib. If you can play the jib, pull it in, let it out, you are going to get much better performance than just hoping to pull it into the right spot and leaving it there all the time. So if you are going to be sailing perhaps a long distance race and there's more chance of a lot of high wind beam reaching, then perhaps have a look at changing your your jib sheet system or length, and so that the crew can play the jib slightly more easily from a position towards the back of the boat. And then what we're looking for with the jib, if we're not absolutely overpowered, again, is to have the telltales on the jib, both sides, they're both going to be the same color, streaming straight back. Like we've said before, because that's what it is. If the inside one is lifting, pull it in. If the outside one is lifting, let it out. If at any point the bows go down, let it out. Yeah, you'll be glad you did. But you'll need jib sheets long enough. And then main sheet and traveler position. What we want to be doing, even on the beam reach, is still sailing with a lot of tension in the main sheet. If we haven't got tension in the main sheet, the top of the sail is going to be really open, which is going to be forcing the bows down. Because if you think about if the top of the sail, can we see this? Yes, we can. Rather than it being like this, is more so without main sheet tension, the bottom of the sail might still be kind of like this, but the top of the sail will be more open. And then if we look at the way, like the way that the sail is driving us is perpendicular to the angle of the sail. So if we look at the way that that is going to pull the boat, it's going to be pulling it that way, which at the top, and because it's at the top, that is going to be putting load. Because it's at the top, there's loads of leverage. That's going to be putting more load on that leeward bow, meaning you can't power the boat as much. And the speed is going to come from our ability to really drive and power the boat. Yeah, so we want to have the main sheet pretty tight all of the time as a standard position. So if you feel you're not able to have the main sheet tight, then that is the time to drop the Traveller down until it gets to a position where you can have the main sheet tight. So what I would do is have the Traveller in a position where in the biggest lull with the main sheet tight, you've still got enough power. And then if you haven't got enough power in that lull, have the Traveller in a bit more and then just work from that position. So, and then main sheet, we're going to sail with it tight, as I've said. And then our main gust response is going to be with the sails. So if we get a gust and it's too much power, either the bow is going down or we're flying the hull too high, we're just going to ease the sheets out. And the ideal, what we're looking for is to keep the hull flying. And if the hull starts to come down, we'll sheet in again. So it's a real workout for the arms, but very nice. Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Now, Jochen says, so depowering, should we alter course to depower? It really depends on what we're trying to achieve. If we are just out for a nice time, we want to have an easy sail, yes, turning the boat closer to the wind is going to depower, because when we turn the boat closer to the wind, it has the same effect as letting the sails out. And also by turning the boat into the wind, like I was mentioning on the survival sailing video, when we're more into the wind, we can see the wind is blowing. If you imagine the mast there, it's blowing, lifting the bows. So if we really want to lose power and not have to work too much to do that, or perhaps we're just feeling that this beam reach is too critical and we are on the edge, and unless we do something, we are going to crash fairly hard, then just sail a little bit higher, and that will help to not be putting the bow in quite as much for your settings. Then so turning into the wind is always going to depower, but doing it with the sails is much more refined. It's a nicer way to do it, and you'll achieve better speed, because the less that we steer, the better. Then if we are going for top speed, same as we've been doing with the Hobie 16 and other boats, every time we lift the hull, we can sheet out a bit, bear away, and then sheet in again to keep the hull flying. And that is when we're going to get the highest speed. So if we start flying the hull, there's energy being used to lift the hull. So we can transfer that energy from hull lifting to more speed by going more downwind, as long as we can keep that hull flying. There we go. I'm going to leave that one there. I hope that helps. Yeah, having talked about it, I hope it helps me and Declan next week in Sweden. Yeah, so that'll be very exciting. All right, so into the live chat. Hello to everybody who's watching live, and hello to everyone who's watching later. We've got is it Gis? I'm going to go with Gis, who says it's 6:30. Thanks. Yes, I think I was a few minutes late. Toby's on board. Good afternoon. We've got Leland Lee in Clearwater, Florida. Gis says, Joe, you won the Wild Wind Regatta with John. Woohoo! Yes. Yeah, I was sailing with John, who's from Philadelphia, USA, on the Hobie 16 Bad Boy 95. hopefully I'll have some more pictures, because got the numbers on the jib the other day and it looks even better than it looked before. Yeah, so we had 4 races today on the 16, mixed fleet handicap racing. And what was interesting was not being the fastest boat in the fleet, because there was Hobie Tiger's F18s, which were quicker, which meant protecting your dirty wind was a significant concern. And how you do that on a slower boat is, I don't think there's a clear way to do it, because they point higher as well, which means if you're to windward, like if sorry, I know this looked quite nice, didn't it? But so sailing upwind, or with most laps we'd be sailing off on starboard tack. Sailing upwind, if we thought, okay, we'll start off to windward and this is a Tiger, then the Tiger can point a few degrees higher than the 16. So eventually, as we proceed forwards, we'd get to this sort of area. And although it might not seem like it by looking, the actual dirty wind that comes off a boat, it's not just down here, but some of the dirty wind extends slightly to windward. Maybe that's a bit much, sort of. So the dirty wind would probably be this region here, maybe even because we're getting a bit off the jib as well. So all of this dirty wind. So if you get into this dirty wind trap, you just really get sucked in, meaning you can't point as high, so you're even more doomed. You're going slower. So the only kind of way to get around that is just, because it's the Tiger's a faster boat, is just to let them go, and they should be significantly quicker. So then you just have to go down. And of course, if the Tiger was to windward, we'd just get dirty wind for a bit and then hopefully they'd leave. But yeah, well done to John for helming that regatta. I was the able-bodied crew on board, and Bad Boy 95 running really sweet. Thanks to Thanos from OS3 Sails for giving us some new jib battens. Thanks to Chip for making the sails at Whirlwind Sails. And thanks to Salt City Sailing for supplying the trampoline, which really does add a bit of sunshine to the boat on a sunny day. Oh, thanks to Martin at Malcheski Composites for the sweetest tiller extension ever made. No word of a lie. If you want to get the nice, this is not because of anything other than the fact that it's true, is if you want, you know, if you want to buy someone a present for their Hobie 16, get the Malcheski Composites fixed length Hobie 16 tiller extension. It is so light, it's thin, so it's really nice to hold, and it's carbon, so it doesn't bend. It's got a nice float on the end. Really, really nice. I love that tiller extension. There we go. Thank you, Martin, for that. Anyway, back to the live chat. Riley's on board. Hi, Riley. Great to have you with us. Toot's with us in Texas. Hello, Toot. Come out this weekend, burgers and margaritas. Whew. It's going to be a bit of a stretch, to be honest. I'll see what I can do, but can't guarantee anything. All right, we've got Mega. All right, Mega Dodo Nissan. I don't believe that's your real name. It might be. Sorry if it is. Done the Archipelago raid. You will live it. I'm very much looking forward to the experience. Stephen's on board, I believe. Grapham Water in the UK. We are for our weekly fix of catamaran sailing tips. Great stuff. Okay, we've got channel member John in the live chat. John was, this is the John who was helming the boat, the Bad Boy 95 this morning. First place. Congratulations. Great stuff. Mega Dodo says, for the raid, bring some tools and epoxy. Hitting a rock does happen from time to time. Now, I'm hoping that Declan is has got the supplies, because I do believe that epoxy is one of those things they don't like you taking on an aeroplane. So I think it can just, possibly there's a risk of it catching fire or something. I don't know. John says, thanks for not eating breakfast. Yeah, it was light winds. Stephen says, master rotation doesn't exist on a Hobie 16. Can the outhaul be used? Does that make any difference? Yeah, if so the outhaul on a 16, if you've got the outhaul fairly loose, you'll know that you get a load of bag in the bottom of the sail, and that bag, even if it's not very windy, it really does, the appearance of it just looks like a bag. So is a bag fast? I'd say no. So you always want to have some outhaul on, because just taking some of that bag out of the sail, and then as the wind gets stronger, if you've got some outhaul on so there's no bag, it happens on all boats, because we're changing the distance when we pull the downhaul from the tack to the clue, we're automatically stretching the outhaul more. So as long as you haven't got it completely loose, you don't really need to touch the outhaul very much. So when you downhaul the boat more, it's going to flatten the bottom of the sail as well, reducing that bag further. Because what that bag is going to give you is more drag, a bag of drag. That is what I believe. Toot says, hit the like button, please. Yeah, if you've got a spare finger, then it would be very nice if you could hit the like button, because that means that YouTube will present this great information in front of more people who might benefit from it. So thank you very much. All right. All right. Mega Dodo says, navigation on the raid, bring a 13-inch IP X7, that's waterproof, I believe, surf pad in a watertight bag and a chest mount for it. There we go. Yeah, I think Declan is in charge of tech for the raid, as well as most things, actually. I think I'm just in charge of doing a bit of talking on the videos and steering the boat. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. All right, we've got Mark and Janet in Ohio, having a wonderful sailing season this year. Right, nice. Glad to hear it. We've got Storen, who says, thanks for the great contact. Did you already try wake thieving with a foil board, by the way? Check out Axis Art V2 999, wake thieving from nylon to coppet behind CGN boat Louisiane. Greetings from Germany. Yeah, we did. I wouldn't call it wake thieving. It was wake foiling, we'd have called it. And we have done that. But the problem that we had with somebody being towed on a foiling board behind the catamaran was, and I didn't realize at the time, his foils, the wings on his foil were too big, which meant he was getting too much lift too soon, which meant I had to almost sail the boat as slowly as possible to not be getting him ejected by having too much lift. But we're going to try it again in September with smaller wings on the foil and seeing what kind of high speeds we can achieve. I think need someone very brave getting dragged behind the boat. Okay, Scott is in there dropping it in the slot. Hello, Joe, Joyrider community, and Leland Lee. How is sailing in Clearwater in Florida? I think that's what we all want to know, because certainly January is a good time to get away. All right, Toby says, went to have a look at a Dragoon the other day and sending regards from Alan. Yes, hello to Alan if he's ever watching. Right, we've got Hanny on board in Amsterdam. Hello, Hanny. Great to have you with us. Have a good stay in Sweden. Yes. All right, Benny's with us. I believe Benny is in Sweden already. Benny, if you could give us a weather update. Hopefully it's not raining anymore. although I think it's going to be a few degrees cooler than it is here in Greece. I think we're in the high 30s still, and that is cooking. All right, Matthias is with us. I would love to do the archipelago raid. Long-time sailor, not that experienced on a cat. What boat should I consider getting? Not looking for a great result, just a good time. Yeah, the archipelago raid is only for Formula 18s, which means if you want the easiest one possible, still the Hobie Tiger is the easiest, and it would be easier on the raid because the foils, the daggerboards and the rudders on the Tiger are a lot shallower. They don't go as deep into the water as on the more modern F18s. And the Tiger is a very durable, robust boat. You're less likely to damage it. And yeah, I would say that would be the easiest boat to have for that that kind of expedition raid. All right, Toby says thoughts on a Hobie 17 in waves being out on the wings. Would the wind tubes cope? Yeah, I think so. On the Hobie 17, if you haven't seen one, it has got what I call, no disrespect, but I call them the picnic bench style wings, where if this is the boat looking from the back, the Hobie 17, low volume hulls, and then these picnic bench wings on the 17 are just very simple how they attach. It's like aluminium tube goes into a hole in the hull like that. So would these bits of aluminium tube cope if you were going upwind and there was a lot of slamming? Then eventually you would think that something's got to give. So I would say if you were choosing a good boat to sail in waves, perhaps the Hobie 17 wouldn't be the one, not only because of these wings, perhaps a bit of metal fatigue might come in at some point, but also because the Hobie 17 has got very low volume hulls, which low volume is you're gonna dig in more in the waves, so perhaps not the best choice. All right. Toot says got towed behind a Hobie 18 on a full-size windsurf board. That is almost too much fun. Yeah, Toot agrees. The Hobie 17 likes the flat water. All right, so back to the preloaded questions. Next one comes from Hanokal 5348. Why do we let the main sheet off when the jib backs in attack? All right, this is a good question. They're all good questions. This is a good one though. Yeah, so what we have to consider is, what does the main sheet do when the boat isn't moving? And if we say the main sheet and the mainsail, same thing, because the main sheet is controlling the mainsail. So when we're not moving, what the mainsail is doing, very small mainsail, is that's if the mainsail is tight, it's putting pressure on the boat. I know we've been through this before for those that watch regularly. That puts pressure behind the pivot point. If we say this is our pivot point on the boat, around, could be this area here, pressure behind the pivot point, which brings the front of the boat up into the wind. So it's like we're pushing there, and that brings it up into the wind. So if when we tack, we don't release the main sheet, we don't let the mainsail out, jib backing is basically the indication that we are head to wind. So when the jib backs, if the main sheet doesn't go out, the main sheet is going to try to keep the boat head to wind. So by letting the main sheet out, it allows the boat to come away from the wind much quicker and easier with less resistance. So that is why we do it. We sheet in the main sheet first so that we can reduce our tacking angle. Main sheet loose, we'd be starting off like this. Main sheet tight, more like this. And what we want is to have the smallest tacking angle possible, because when we're turning through the wind, there's a lot of resistance. So we're trying to resist that. We're trying to remove that as much as we can. The resistance and how long we are in that period of resistance, if we can call it that, which we are. Okay, so that is why we let off the main sheet during the tack. Thank you very much. The more main sheet you let off, if you're less experienced catamaran sailing, by letting off more main sheet, the boat will come away from the wind easier, quicker. You're more likely to succeed in your tack. But when you start refining your tacks, then you can let off less main sheet so that then you've got less to pull in afterwards. But still, you do need to pull it. You do need to let it out. All right. So, yeah, Benny in Sweden with a weather report. Still raining and 23 degrees, but hopefully the sun will shine when you're here. Yeah, I've seen pictures. It looks absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to see it with my own eyes. Yeah, so next, preloaded question. All right, we've got Bob Edwards, who says this is in response to, I believe, the 3-point turn tacking method. Would this apply to a larger sailboat, such as an ocean-going catamaran? I'd have to say probably not. So that is talking about the 3-point turn tack that we've talked about in a video recently, where we start off here, we use the main sheet to get the boat up into the wind, and we then, if we start off not moving, that's what makes this different. So we start off not moving, we use the main sheet to bring the boat up into the wind, and then as soon as we're into the wind, the jib backs, we let the main sheet off like we've just talked about, reverse the rudders, reversing round, and then spot when we're going forwards, and off we go. Ah, interesting. Yeah, why wouldn't it work on one of these massive, like 50-foot catamarans? I think it's the weight of the boat. I think, yes, pulling the main sheet into the tack is going to help to get it into the tack. But if you've got the full jib out on one of those big catamarans, there's such big jibs on those boats that once that jib's backed, you're going round anyway. So you don't need to worry about the backing it up part. But the reason it wouldn't back up is, I think, just the weight of the boat. Because those big catamarans are huge. Very popular. I think they must be, possibly, just by looking around what's going on the island here, where I am in Greece, is extremely popular for yachting, like going around the islands, all this sort of thing. And there are more and more of these big catamarans every year, and their numbers are growing much more than that of the monohull keelboat yacht. Interesting, I know. All right, so Toby, is there an alternative to a Hobie rope lock dog bone? Hobie spares still seem troublesome in the UK. Would an overhand not behind a rope block? Oh yeah. So here we go. I'll just go straight for the answer. So a Hobie rope lock, as it's called, is also known as a dog bone. This shape, piece of plastic. I haven't got one to hand. I've unfortunately, and it's got a hole in the bottom, hole in the top, and this is the very simple method that we use for adjusting the trapeze height on a Hobie 16. So the rope comes in and then it goes through there, round, and then there we are. And that, so it goes underneath here, and that's what locks it. Very simple, quite easy to adjust. But of course, you have to stop the boat if you're going to adjust it, because it does require two hands and not having someone on the trapeze at the time. So if you can't get hold of a Hobie rope lock or dog bone, then an alternative is, yes, you can use a ball, which have I got one just here? I did have one. Oh yeah, here we go. God, look at that. A ball like this. This is mushy pea green. Very nice. And yeah, you could just put the rope through here, tie a knot into the ball, and that would set your trapeze height. Now, the only problem with using a ball like this is you'll never be able to untie that knot once you've hung on the trapeze a couple of times, because whether you use an overhand knot or a figure of 8 knot, I don't think any knot, after you've put that amount of pressure on from trapezing, is going to ever be undone ever again. So that is the downside of using a ball like that. But it will work. And if you know exactly how long you want your trapeze and that's how long you want it, then why not? These are a lot cheaper as well. Yeah. All right, back to the preloaded questions. Hope everyone's enjoying the what should we call it? The information. Hit the like button. That's nice. You could drop off a super sticker or something, which is a good way of leaving a tip. I'm not asking, I'm just saying it is possible. It's at the bottom of the live chat. And that's very nice. Or you could just keep watching till the end. Tell your friends. Right, so next question comes from Declan, who I'm sailing with next week. So we'll have plenty of time to chat about this. We could be on the boat for, I think, in excess of 10 hours a day. So plenty of time to chat. Would you talk about the tuning the jib tension, particularly the leech tension in the jib? All right. So I'm... Yeah, this one. Yeah, I don't quite know how to approach this, because all right, let's approach it how we've talked about this maybe last week, maybe the week before, probably the week before. But most jibs doesn't come to a point on the clue. It comes to a plate, and that plate, to zoom in, would look something like this with holes in it. And what we can do with this plate is we can adjust the amount of tension in the leech of the jib and the foot of the jib. If we go further down, we put more tension into the foot, less in the leech, and vice versa, of course. So why would we want to do that if, when we're sailing, let's say the bottom telltales fly straight back on the inside and that the top telltales lift a lot earlier? What that suggests is we've got quite an open leech, because with that amount of tension, we're not sheeting the top of the sail in as much as the bottom of the sail. So if that is the case, and you know, in a heavy wind, we do actually want this to happen. We want the top of the sail to open up earlier than the bottom of the sail. It's a good way of helping us just to lose the power a little bit. And if we've got too much tension in the leech of the jib all the way above, if we look at our sails from above, this is good. But if we've got too much leech tension, sorry, this is the main sail, this is the jib. Let's draw that again. But the jib with more leech tension. And you can see how with less leech tension, the wind comes in, nice flow over there, lovely. Whereas if it's too much leech tension, we're going to get some turbulent flow over the back of the mainsail, which is going to act like drag. It's going to be like sucking us slower. But having said that, in lighter wind, when we really want to maximize the performance that we're getting out of the jib, then yes, moving the clue plate up until the telltales break at the same time is what we're looking to do. So there we go. Another contributing factor on this is going to be where we attach the tack of the jib on whatever we're attaching it to at the front of the boat. If the jib is coming lower down, because let's assume that the jib sheets are like pulling from here. If the jib goes lower down, then that pull is going to be more directly across. Yeah. So we're going to get more tension in the foot as we move the jib lower down. A lower down jib, much more efficient than a higher up jib. So we want it lower down, but that's going to pull more like that, which is going to mean we're going to want to move the jib sheets up a bit to just keep this even. But the ideal in most conditions is to have the same tension in the leech of the sail and the foot of the sail. Now, the other thing that might be involved in this question is in a lot of sails, not all sails, but some sails, let's say, there's a thin rope that runs through the back edge of the sail. More in a spinnaker, thinking about it, than you would get in a jib. But some jibs might have this, it's called a leech line. And what that leech line is for is to give some reinforcement to the back edge of the sail. Because the back edge of the sail takes has a hard life. And with that leech line, all we're trying to do is take the slack out of that line. And because if we pull it on any tighter, then what happens is we get this horrible curl in the back edge of the sail. And that doesn't help our airflow at all. There we go. I hope that's somewhere in the region of what your question was entailing, Declan, but we can talk about it extensively while we're actually looking at the jib on our C2. Yes, fun times ahead. All right, so I'm just going to go for the next preloaded question, and then we'll finish off with everything that's left in the live chat. So the next preloaded question is coming from, this is the last one, by the way. It's coming from Pierre, and he's looking to get a catamaran for solo sailing. So this is what he wants. High performance, like a Hobie 16. He's already sailed one with a crew. He's looking for a fast catamaran. The mast must be able to be lowered and raised with one person. That pretty normal. Capsize righting must be able to be done with one person, and using the bag technique, very sensible. Love the bag technique for writing the capsize. He wants to trapeze, and he wants something that's solid and durable. Pierre did mention in a follow-up email that he had come across the boat called the Shadow. Now, I believe the Shadow was a boat designed by Reg White and Yves Laudet, both Tornado medalists. Reg White, of course, built Tornadoes, built the Hurricane 5.9, the whole Hurricane range, and a huge catamaran building legacy that he left behind on the east coast of the England of the UK. Yeah, and the Shadow is it's around 16 feet long. In fact, it's 2 meters 40 wide, so the same as a Hobie 16 in dimensions. The hulls, I do believe actually that Reg White did design the hull shape, correct me if I'm wrong, on the Spitfire as well. The Spitfire was, I think, from Reg White, and the what was it called? The Dart Hawk. The Dart Hawk was one of the first F18s, and the hull shape, hopefully I can do this, goes a bit narrower towards the back. I know it just looks like a sausage that I've drawn, but so it's got this curved downwards hull at the front, beam there, daggerboard, rudder. Now it looks more like a boat, less like a sausage. But the Shadow has this hull shape as well. So the benefits of the Shadow as its mainsail and spinnaker, so the same that we have on the FX1 that feature quite occasionally in the Joyrider TV videos. But all right, so first one, Shadow versus FX1. Shadow's a little bit smaller, bit narrower, so the whole platform is smaller, but the Shadow is 40 kilograms lighter than an FX1. And for me, that means single-handed boat. If you're going to sail it all the time single-handed, you might not have help to bring the boat out of the water. So having a lighter boat is definitely going to be a win. So that is a win for the Shadow. There was 2 brave sailors who actually sailed 2 brave Shadows around Ireland, I believe. Tim Swinburne and Digby Fox, I think it was Digby. They took 2 of these single-handed catamarans and sailed around the whole of the Irish coastline. Great trip. Now that shows that the Shadow has got what it takes in durability terms. Now I'm not sure, but I would assume, because most boats that originally just have a mainsail and a spinnaker, eventually someone says, yeah, but I want to take my mate out for a sail. Can we put a jib on it? I'm sure that there's a jib kit or some way of working out a jib system for a Shadow. So this means it's got that versatility, sailed 2 people as well as 1 person. So the Shadow's doing well actually here. But what other options could we bring up? I see Toby in the live chat says Dragoon. Yeah, so Dragoon. We could also go, we could go Hobie 16. We could go Hobie 14. What else could we go? We could go Wave even. I believe the Wave 100 has just concluded on the east coast of the USA. Very good looking race, good fleet there. What else could be an option for this? What would be, you could go Hobie 17. There's a lot of options. We could go for more plastic, like the Dart, I'll just say D16, the Dart 16. So a lot of options. But if we're looking for performance, and okay, firstly, we're looking for performance. So if you think of anything else I should stick on this list, let's not exclude the good old Prindle, the Prindle 15 or 16. Yeah. What else are we thinking? The Dart 18. Dart 18 is a great boat because it does work equally as a single hander as it does as a double hander. And then I can't believe I've only just thought of this. What about the F16? The Formula 16, like a Viper from Good Old Design, as an example. Now, the Formula 16 is a fully convertible boat. It's actually designed to be sailed by 1 or 2 people. So you to make it a 1-person boat, you take the jib off. To make it a 2-person boat, you put the jib on. And in racing, you can race evenly, 1 person, 2 people. So very strong contender there for the cup. Any more for the list? Let's put on there the new guy in town, the Minicat. All right. So must be able to put the mast up on your own. Yeah, with a little bit of ingenuity. Let's see. Shadow, I'm thinking because the boat is 99 kilos, I think, list weight, which means it's got to have a pretty lightweight mast, which means for mast going up, that's a tick. All right. F16, again, lightweight mast. So that is a tick. But again, you are going to need to have some sort of system for bringing it up on your own. All right. Toby's come in with a Hobie 15. Have I got space at the bottom? Just don't want to go off the board. All right. Prindle 15, 16. Yes. Dragoon, definitely. Hobie 16, yes, you can do it just with a system to do it. Spitfire, says Stephen. Yeah, the Spitfire would do quite a similar job to the Shadow. Because it does share a lot of the same the same, what would you call it, same attributes. But so yes, you'd be able to do that. Hobie 14, easy, wave easy. Hobie 17, still doable, need a system. Dart 16, yes. Dart 18, need a system, but yes. Minicat gets the biggest tick for putting the mast up on your own. You could do it with 1 hand. Hobie 15, yes, but you need a system. Okay, so yes, you could get the mast up on your own. Now, righting the boat with a waterproof bag. Now, the heaviest of all of these boats is going to be the FX1, and the FX1's actually going to get a little wiggly line for can you put the mast up on your own, because the mast on an FX1 is almost as it's almost as heavy as a mast on an F18. So you would need to have a very good system, which would, I know there's lots of systems that people have come up with for this. Yeah, so the FX1 not scoring quite so highly on the put the mast up. Righting the boat. Now, yeah, like I was just going to say, actually, I've done the test with the righting bag on the FX1 in 0 wind. Now, in 0 wind, you have no assistance from the wind for putting the boat back upright. And I could bring the boat upright, 0 wind, with the bag. With the bag, I was 120 kilos because I'm 90 kilos, had 30 kilos of water in the bag. So if you were lighter than me, then you just need more weight in the bag. Yeah, but in theory, you wouldn't be capsizing in 0 wind anyway. That's the theory. So everything passes the capsize writing test on this list. It was the same with the Hobie 16, 120 kilos, and you can do it. So next one, fast performance catamaran. This is gonna be brutal. You're not gonna like this. Hobie 15, no. Minicat, no. Dart 16, no. Hobie Wave, no. Hobie 14, yes. Dragoon, no. Everything else, you know, Prindle 15, 16 on the cusp, right on the cusp. If the 14, 16 Hobie is staying in, then the Prindle should too. What was the other one? Solid. Right. Solid. So Dart 18 is probably the least solid of all of these, but still a solid boat. You know, you just don't run it up. A Dart 18 is the one you don't run up the beach, along with the F16, Spitfire, Shadow, FX1. But okay, so let's really get down to it. I'm fancying that the FX1 is out because it's heavier. Oh, we could put on there Aclass as well. But the Aclass is extremely delicate. So let's get rid of that. So the Shadow is still doing well. Now, Shadow versus Spitfire. The Shadow, the Spitfire is a dedicated double-handed boat. Does kind of do the same thing as the F16. I know where I'm going already here. So Spitfire, no. I think Prindle 15, 16, not enough performance. Hobie 14, not enough performance. Hobie 17, you can't really get hold of them. Dart 18, maybe. But I would say the winner should be, but now there's budget. How much money can you do you want to spend on this? If the cost is not an issue, then the F16, I would say, is the winner. That is what I would go for. The Shadow, much older design of boat, and if you can find one, I would say that is a fine choice. Hobie 16, they are everywhere. Also a fine choice. Dart 18, if you're in Europe especially, loads of them about. Great choice. So I would say those would be the finishing choices. All right, I see there's a lot in the live chat on this topic. So Barry says lightweight was the key to success for Colin Chapman of Lotus Cars. One of his most famous sayings was simplify and then add lightness, like that. All right, Stephen's into the Hobie 16, but he's slightly biased. Oh, Toby says putting the mast up on a Hobie 15 solo is a right pain. Yeah, you've got the ball at the bottom, like ball, and then a socket kind of thing, which unless you can really have a secure attachment to stop that from jumping off, then it is going to be difficult. But the problem with the Hobies, which have got the ball, we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, is we've got the Dolphin Striker under the beam. There's the beam. and then the central rod of the dolphin striker turns into a threaded bar, and then the ball goes onto the threaded bar. And it doesn't matter if on your mast base you put a pin through that apparently locks it onto the ball. If the ball's thread has gone a bit, it will just pull off the threaded bar. So that is the problem with this for single-handed mast erection. Okay. Toot says we use an A-frame to lift the mast at 15 degrees, tie off the trapeze to the front crossbar, and then use a winch. Nice. Yeah, that would make it a lot easier. Barry says, I believe the Minicat designers use the same principles of lightness. Yes, absolutely. It is, I think their tagline is ultra light catamaran. Yeah, ultra light, very light. What else we got here? Stephen says Hobie 16 mast can be put up with a hinge. Yeah, having the thing with putting the mast up is if you can have a solid connection at the bottom, which means it's definitely not coming off, then you can put the mast up single-handed easily. By the way, at this point, I'd just like to say no more questions, please, in the live chat, because we're over an hour now, and that's getting on for as much as I can do in one sitting for one of these, because you'll, you know, get a bit dry. Still got a bit in the tank. By the way, you can get the Joyrider travel cups from totaljoyrider.com. The design on which, as standard, is a speed stick design like that. But you can customize. Yeah. Any designs from the website you can use, just let me know. I'll get one in the post. It's changed my life. Stephen says, writing bag every time to write the 16 on your own. Yes. Toby asks, even the Dart 18 can be righted single-handed. Yes, with a writing bag, yes. Because the mast on a Dart 18 is actually lighter than the mast on a Hobie 16. And you can definitely do the Hobie 16. So the Dart 18 gets a yes. So these are the results for this question, I would say. So there we go. I hope that helps, Pierre. And good luck in your boat purchasing. Always a very exciting time. Oh, sorry, I didn't say hello to Carlu's Curiosity Quest. Hello, Carlu. Great to have you with us. Sorry, jumping around a little bit. And then last question of the day is coming from Toby, who says, can you explain how the Shroud extension system works on the self-righting system? What prevents the mast from popping out? Would love for you to do a solo capsize recovery attempt on the Tiger. Yeah, so the Shroud extension it's actually a capsize righting method that's been borrowed by much bigger catamarans. So if we look at our normal capsize position, there's the mast and there's the boat. Boat's a little bit wide. There's the hulls. Not quite so wide now, are you? All right. And now, one of the things that makes it more difficult than it might be when the catamaran is capsized is we've got this hull. This is, let's call this our fulcrum. Can we do that? The engineers out there. Let's call this the fulcrum, where the boat is, what the boat is pivoting on. And this hull, the weight of this hull, some of it is the wrong side of the fulcrum, which is bringing the boat, pushing the boat over. So we're fighting against the weight of the hull which is in the air. So this Shroud extension capsize writing system, if, oh, I've got a mast here. If our mast is here, so the mast is always going to be in the same position. But if we can extend this shroud here, yeah, like this, then what that means is we've actually got the weight of this hull helping us to bring the boat upright. Now, what Toby's concern is, and that's what my concern is, why I haven't done this in the past, is because the rig would be extremely loose if we were to do this. So one way that we could do it, I've just thought of this actually, is if we had, if our shrouds were pretty short and we actually use a small, simple purchase system on both sides, sort of like, where can I draw a close up? Like, here's our shroud, then we have a pulley and a pulley. That pulley attaches onto the hull, and a reliable cleat. That's good. Thanks, Barry. I'm glad you're happy with Fulcrum. Oh, and thanks very much to Stephen for the super sticker. That's Stephen's way of showing that he thinks this information has been pretty good. So thanks very much, Stephen. Yeah, so this is the cleat, and perhaps we'd have rope comes through there, up to there, and then ties off there. So we've got like a 2-to-1 on the shroud. If we had one on this shroud, so we could shorten it, and the same on this shroud. So rather than having a quick release kind of thing, you just uncleat the top one, pull on the bottom one, and that actually pulls the mast over, but keeping some tension in the rig. What do we think about that? The more traditional method that is used is to have some sort of lash up at the bottom of the mast. So we've got the bottom of the mast here. There's the beam, and using one of the cleats or two of the cleats on the mast to actually go around the beam and get some tension on there. Because the main concern is, this is the front beam, by the way, Dolphin Striker, there you go. And the main concern is the mast jumping off the mast step on the front beam. But I think this is a great system. And yes, Toby, I think Joyrider TV is really doing its audience a misservice, an injustice, by not having looked into this as a method that could be used for righting the capsized boat. Now, would I do it on a Hobie Tiger? No, I don't think so. Maybe if we actually had this system on a Tiger, but we would need more purchase, because on a Tiger we need more rig tension. On something like a 16 or a Dart 18 where there's less rig tension, yeah, have the rescue boat on standby, good shout. Then it's not quite such an issue getting the tension back on. But on a tight rigged boat like a Tiger, slightly more. Okay, so I'm going to clock off there. Thanks very much to everybody for still being here at the end. Well done. This must have been a really good delivery today. I will hopefully I'll have something for you on well, in the next days before I go to Sweden, and then from when I'm in Sweden, it'll be all about this amazing adventure that I'm going on. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that. Tell your friends share it on Facebook and wherever if you would like to. And great stuff. Yeah, thanks, Toot. Thanks, everyone else. Don't forget to hit the like button before you leave. And I'll see you soon with some more on the Joyrider TV. Thank you.